Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rotary Club of Park City's Friday meeting. We would like everybody to stand at this time. I want you all to greet each other, say hello to somebody that you haven't said hello to in a while, maybe somebody you've never met before.
Just sitting in the pews. You look like you're going to do a lot of reading while you're up here.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's Richard.
How are you?
I am dandy, thanks.
You're dandy?
Yep, you're upside down. Is that okay? You may want to be upside down. Or maybe not. Oh no, I am dandy.
That's
You know,
I'm gonna ring it again and ask people to sit.
how many people did I walk by that didn't stand it? That was true. I know who my friends are.
Would you all please remain standing but go back to your seats? Thank you very much. We can even get even a little bit quieter. I love the jabber in this room, though. It is kind of fun. If y'all will remain standing, in just a moment, Mary Bishop is going to give our invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem. Before I go any further, though, I want y'all to know that Jeff McNaughton, our esteemed president this year, is doing exactly what he should be doing as a parent. He is taking his daughter with their wife over to LSU, to her dorm, and they are taking all of that furniture, and he's probably sweating like crazy right now. But, so he asked me, Lee Waggoner, a past president of this club, to stand in for him. So that's why you got me for this. Now, let's listen to Mary Bishop.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. Do you all have any concerns, any joys you want to share?
Joys right now.
The joys, that's right. Just for you visitors, we do joys called the Happy Bucks, and any joys or concerns, you put $1 or $2 in there, and Richard will carry it around, then you can share your joy. All right, but let's do concerns right now.
Okay.
Concerns. Okay. Well, let's go to the Lord in prayer. We take a deep breath, Lord, and relax into this moment. You are in the present moment with us. You are always with us. Thank you for your loving kindness, your loyalty, your trustworthiness, your faithfulness. Father, we lift up all the blessings we have, the blessings of living in this free country, the blessings of good health, the blessings of resources, our medical care, our schools that are opening. Father, we lift up these institutions of higher learning as well as our little preschool programs to you today and ask you to bless the teachers, the frontline people that touch our children's lives. Father, we also lift up Rotary International. We thank you for the many clubs around the world on different continents, different languages, different projects, but Father, we are united in service. We're united to serve others. So we thank you for those in service around the world. And Father, we come to you today knowing that you love us, you care for us, and you look after us. And we thank you. We are your children, and you are our God Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth. Amen. Let's have the national anthem. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, bombs bursting in, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you.
Okay, please be seated. You know, Richard Stanford's going to walk around with the Happy Bucks money thing, but I got to tell you guys, thanks to Fred Brown, maybe we got this national anthem pitched to a key that some of the basses and baritones in the crowd can sing. But we're got to practice holding out some of those notes and getting the "the" at the. I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyway, it's time for Happy Bucks, and Richard Stanford's got the mic and the bucket.
Hello. I'm Leo Avila. We're Happy Bucks today are for my father arriving safely from the Bronx, New York for my birthday tomorrow, turning 42. He made some delays, but he got in at 4:30 yesterday, so. And glad to be here.
All right, excellent. There's a little family resemblance going on there.
Well, I have two joys. We're wrapping up our 2022 parade, and we have some representatives here today. We have, we'll introduce them later, but we have someone from UP, and we have an Encore rep and a representative from Advanced ER. But what I'm also very excited about is next Friday, I won't be here, because my son is going to be stuck in a car with me for 2.5 days while I help move him home for his summer internship. I haven't seen him all summer, so he's going to get lots of mom's questions. Who did you meet? Did you like your internship? What are you going to do? And he's stuck with me.
All right.
You all should be happy I didn't fall off the truck. Thank you for, thank you. He won't take my dollar.
I'll take it now.
Hey, Richard. Yes. There's one. Sean's even closer. You're next.
My joy is that my father had surgery July 19th, and club member Chris Clausen's company provided him with excellent custodial care, and my dad is recovering nicely, steadily, and so that's my joy. Thank you.
I want to give a shout out to my father-in-law, a former Rotarian from West Point, Mississippi, who turned 92 last week. Still going strong, still driving, still sharp as a tack, still walking unaided, run circles around me.
I want to have an incredible joy after nearly 3 days without air conditioning. Our house is cool again.
You still have some money.
I'm happy to share that my Navy aviator daughter got engaged last Saturday to a Marine aviator. So now we have 2 officers in the family, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Thank you. There you go. So thank you. I'm Keith Mankin. I'm your assistant governor. Delighted to be here as always. Happy news, I will be here in 2 weeks for the district governor's visit. I hope to see all your faces and more. Great event. There's nothing much except for that from the district that I have to report, but from my club, which is the Downtown Club, I will tell you it is men, etc., who cook season. This is our annual fundraiser. It is a celebrity chef type thing, and this year we are trying to expand it out to as many clubs as possible. So if you are the chili queen or king of Park Cities and want to prove it, come and see me. We'll get you on the slate. We'll get you as a chef. A lot of fun, dancing, silent auction, good music, good times. It's November 5th, so think about it. It'll be a great chance for you to get your food out there and have a blast. Thank you.
Did you hear that? Beehive Design District. Okay, I think it's time for our introduction of guests. So if you have a guest with you, would you please stand up so that you can have that opportunity to introduce that person? And I know we've got one visiting Rotarian over here. Oh, here we go.
Hi, I'm Rachel Snyder. You normally see me here with Pat Martin and William Taylor, but I'm with Park Cities people.
All right, welcome. And we've got a visiting Rotarian over here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Newsom. I'm visiting from the East Texas chapter from Nacogdoches. So thank you all for having me today. I appreciate it.
And now, Michelle, would you come up and do your announcement about our market? Oh, wait a minute. Hold it. Michelle, come on up. We've got one more.
I'm Jim Dalal. This is my 3rd or 4th visit to the club, and so, just waiting on technicalities and be there. Thank you so much.
All right, good morning, everybody. I am doing the marketplace sponsor, and that is Happy Franklin, which I don't see her today, but we all know Happy Franklin for her leadership, energy, and power of connecting people. Today, we highlight her work with Securities American Navigation Financial Group, and Happy has been a financial advisor and Rotarian since 2001. She was a charter president of the Rotarian Club Uptown in 2009. She graduated from Texas Tech with a business and law degree. Happy enjoys working with individuals, families, and business owners, and she has clients all over Texas and in many other states. She has 4 designations. Happy's offices is at the Tollway Tower at Arapahoe and the Tollway. Happy enjoys helping people, helping her clients with investment, financial, educational, life insurance, long-term care insurance planning, and 1030 real estate exchange needs. She enjoys hosting a monthly luncheon, networking group, and a bi-monthly seminar series. Happy is a sustainer in the Junior League of Dallas. Please let her know if you have anyone that would be interested in joining the Junior League of Dallas or the Park Cities Club. Happy thanks you all for your great work in the club, and together we make a big difference. Please help me thank Happy for her support of the Rotary. Okay, my next thing is PCRConnect is coming up next Thursday. PCRConnect, yes. We had an amazing group last month, and we're going to have a great turnout this month. I'm sure we are. It's going to be August 18th at the Lovers Seafood and Market at 5200 West Lovers Lane. Hope to see you all there. It's going to be from 5 to 7. Also, Holly is over there, and she has sent out an invitation for everybody to join the VIP tour for the Cowboy Stadium and the 3-course dinner, and that's September 25th, starting at 5 p.m. So please sign up early because we did put a deposit down for this event. We need a minimum of 50 people, so please check your emails again. She already sent out the invite, and I'm sure she's going to send out another one, but it is the Dallas Cowboy Tour dinner. So make sure you keep an eye out for that email from Holly and go ahead and sign up. You can bring your friends, family, anybody you would like to bring. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. You know, while Greg Pape is walking up here to make an announcement, I did skip something. Kathy Allred is over here, and she will accept money for tickets for this drawing that we're going to have in just a few minutes. If you want another chance to get a ticket right now, step over there to her, hand her the money, she'll hand you some tickets.
What a deal. Rotary International Foundation. Fred Hunter, why don't you come up here and join me? I need some company. All right, in the meantime.
Already so early in your talk?
I know.
You're in trouble, buddy.
Hey. Anyways, a little interactive session today. We're going to illuminate, edify, right? We're going to test your Rotary International Foundation acronyms, right? Okay, first one's real easy. Acronym, Pam, acronym. EREY stands for? Every Rotarian, every year. God, 100% so far. I like that. And what do we do with every Rotarian every year? What do we do? We're contributing to the Rotary Foundation, and what is the cash benchmark contribution level at? Very good. All right. How about PHF? Fellow, right. Paul Harris, the founder of Rotary, 1905, Chicago. How about PHS? Golly, you guys, that's awesome. Paul Harris Society, and those Rotarians give $1,000 each and every year. And finally, MD. No, now look, that's not Miss Jennifer Hammond here, medical doctor. MD stands for in the Rotary Foundation as? Very good. How many major donors do you think our club has? Close, 18. Sean, good shot. So ask yourself, do you know your foundation's contribution level? 2, what are your total cash contributions to the Rotary Foundation since you've been in Rotary? I know past District Governor Richard knows that right to the penny. Have you ever recognized another person, a Rotarian or non-Rotarian, with a Paul Harris Fellow, as Alice Friedline did last Friday, okay? 68 of you have Rotary Foundation points that you're not using. And you can use them at your sole discretion. You can recognize a fellow Rotarian or a non-Rotarian. It can be any family member It can be a neighbor, business colleague. This promotes the foundation, and it recognizes someone in your life that you've had contact with that has very close shared values with Rotary. And do you know the mission of Rotary? It provides service to others, it promotes integrity, it advances world understanding, goodwill, and peace through our fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. And last but not least, don't look out on the tables now, Rotary has 7 areas of focus. Can anyone name one of the 7? Past President Carl von Bieberstein, you nailed it. Yes, disease prevention and treatment, polio eradication. We love you. All right, and here today is a stout, persistent, and consistent Rotary Foundation contributor, Fred Hunter, and he has a beautiful Paul Harris pin with 2 sapphires, so he's a 3rd level contributor to the Rotary Foundation. Fred Hunter.
I'll try to do that.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you very much. Actually, that's my dad's, not mine.
Oh.
I gave it to him.
Oh, good.
I gave it for him.
Oh, all right. How
A
nice.
number of years ago.
Nice.
Y'all turn in and just pose for a second.
Oh, cool.
Come
Thank you.
together.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm not sure you're going to get the picture taken with me, Greg.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Now, well, this is really special. I like this. Sarah Ole is going to introduce some of our sponsor recognition. She's got a lot of fun stuff to talk about here. And she did an amazing job on the parade this year. It was huge.
The Rotary Club in Park Cities and the community of the Park Cities are very fortunate. Every year as we plan the parade, we select a parade beneficiary, and then we reach out to local businesses and ask them to donate to the North Texas Food Bank. This year we had 2 title sponsors, Encore and Frost Bank, each giving $7,500 to the North Texas Food Bank. And Frost gave during a triple match, and Encore gave during a double match. And we are truly appreciative of them rushing the checks when we call and say, please give now, there's a match. Today from Encore, we have with us Keita Hobbs. Keita, if you would stand. Keita, as you know, is a past member of our club, and so we're very happy to see her back here today. On behalf of the Rotary Club in Park Cities and the North Texas Food Bank, we thank Encore for their multi-year support of our parade and the parade beneficiary. Thank you, Keita. Our other co-title sponsor is Frost Bank. Our Frost representative was unable to make it today, but wanted me to express his thank you for the work we do in the community and said that they are honored to be part of it. And of course, we in turn thank Frost Bank for their partnership and multi-year support. Next, we have our underwriters. We have 2 major underwriters with us today, Compass and Advanced ER. And Tom Rhodes, if you would please stand, you're going to be our Compass rep. So, Compass not only helps underwrite the cost of the parade, but they also donated the swamp coolers. So if you took a moment to cool off in front of the swamp coolers this year, make sure that you tell Tom Rhodes or Compass if you see them and give them a big thank you for that. Also, we have Michelle Brown from Advanced ER. Advanced ER is a multi-year supporter or an underwriter of the parade, and it's our underwriters who really pay for the cost of the parade and Gore Park. So it's due to our underwriters that we are able to put on such a fun and festive event. So thank you. Next, I'd like to thank our 2022 Grand Marshal, Donna C. Pierce. Thank you, Donna. Thank you for your service to our community. I think you are perhaps the most beloved Grand Marshal that we've ever had. The Rotarians who were walking next to your car said that people were shouting your name up and down the street as they saw you coming, and they just couldn't believe the reception. Thank you to your dedication to the youth of our community. You have truly enriched the lives of the Park Cities. Yes, and so as our Grand Marshal, we would like to extend an honorary membership to the Rotary Club of Park Cities for this year, and we have a letter which outlines this honorary membership. Thank you. Next, I'd like to thank the town of Highland Park and the city of University Park.
Whoa, my bad.
Not yet. So, and then, so today we have with us Sergeant Gloria Banderat from University Park, and she was my key liaison on the University Park side and was a joy to work with. And also, I'd like to thank the town of Highland Park. Chief Wayne Kilmer was going to join us, but he is sick and passed along his appreciation of being invited today, but thought it best that he stay home. Honestly, the 4th of July parade and Gore Park festivities would not be possible without HP and UP's planning, oversight, partnership, and support. And we truly appreciate everything that you do for us and the community. Thank you very much. And next, I'd like Tom Rhodes to stand. Again. As everyone knows, Stan Wright passed away in May, and Stan was pretty much a one-man show when it came to Gore Park. He took care of everything. And when Stan passed, Tom raised his hand and offered to take over the Gore Park festivities. He stepped in at the last minute and did a wonderful job. He hit it out of the park with fundraising and at the same time decreased costs. Thank you, Tom, for your service to our club and our community. And Tom wasn't alone. Philip, as usual, stepped up and offered to help contacting the vendors, and Van Oliver, Van and Philip, if you want to stand, Van provided significant key support for the days leading up to Gore Park and on the day of the 4th of July. So thank you for the three of you who really, truly brought that together. And now for the fun. The 2022 Best Float winner, or winner of the Patriot Cup, is Advanced ER. And if you all could head over to the banner and we could get one of our shutterbugs to take their picture so we can put it on our social media. Thank you to Advanced ER and Michelle for bringing the fun. It was a fun and festive float, had music, and incorporated our 2022 parade theme, Together We Serve, which means they actually read the directions, okay? So the Patriot Cup has been presented to the winner of the best float of the parade. Factors to consider are presentation, wow factor, incorporation of the parade theme, and general 4th of July colors. The Patriot Cup has been presented every year except for 2020 since 1998. In 1998, it was presented to the 3800 and 3900 block of Amster Street for their float, and this year we proudly offer the Patriot Cup to Advanced ER to showcase their business for the next year. And with that, that is the close of the parade year.
That really was an awesome time. Herb ZIEV is going to give his new member talk, and I've already talked to Richard because we're going to cut into his time a little bit, but Richard's going to get his time. Herb, you're up too.
Well, thank you, Lee. It's a pleasure to be back in the club. This is not a new member, it's a renew member speech. So I grew up in eastern Pennsylvania, which is the eastern part of Pennsylvania, near Allentown, Bethlehem. In case you didn't know, it's also the home of Crayola Crayons. George Taylor, who has signed the Declaration of Independence, and a former boxer, Larry Holmes, the Easton assassin. From there, I went to Temple University in Philadelphia. It's a very urban university, so this small town boy going to the big city, and it was a little bit of a culture shock, but I got to really appreciate Philadelphia and certainly really appreciated the cheesesteaks and the hoagies there, and graduated with a marketing degree. From there, my first job was in New York City, from a big city to a big city, and that was a real interesting experience. I had a great time. I was working for a department store in their executive training program and really loved the city. Had a great time, loved Central Park, loved all the restaurants, all the theater. From there, I got a job in Dallas. So growing up in the East Coast and then moving to Texas, it was a little bit of a culture shock for me. So needless to say, it took me 5 years to say y'all. And it took me 5 years to really appreciate Mexican food. I didn't understand nachos at all. Nachos, I mean, it's chips and what, I didn't understand that at all. But certainly I've been here since 1978, so really love Dallas. I worked downtown a couple different times and just love everything that's going on in the city. And certainly all the parks and everything else that's going on in downtown Dallas. My wife and I occasionally take a trip through downtown and just are marvel at all the new buildings and all the new renovations and the parks and everything else. So in terms of career, I've had multiple careers. Most recently, I was a mortgage banker for 10 years. I became an expert really in mortgage guidelines and in credit. I gave a number of presentations on credit. After 10 years, though, I thought that's enough. There's too much stress for me. So I semi-retired. I'm now working for a small personal injury law firm that just happened to be owned by my son. So he is a personal injury law firm in Denver. So if you know somebody who needs a good personal injury attorney in Colorado, let me know. But I'm working from home. I'm doing a lot of back office stuff and love the flexibility and love working for him and getting to know really more of what he does. So I've been married for 20 years to my wife, Julie. She and I met country western dancing. I started dancing, I did it for 15 years. I just loved it. I was obsessed with it. I started during the whole urban cowboy days and just really had a great time and got a wife out of it. Imagine that. How about that? So I have a son, my son Ross, and I have 3 stepsons. I have 3 grandchildren, 2 in California and an 8-year-old granddaughter here in Dallas that we love to visit with. And her parents went to a meeting with the teacher, and her name is Ellie, and the teacher described Ellie as party in a box. So Ellie is just a real spirited child. I love reading, I love cooking on the grill or cooking inside. I'm a little bit of a foodie. I love bicycling. I've been doing that for about 20 years. Did the 100 miles of hotter than hell, which is my claim to fame for bicycling. I sang in an audition chorus for 20 years. I don't do that anymore, but I had a great time. We did a lot of classical stuff and Broadway and opera. That was great fun. And of course, I follow college football. I love my Temple Owls, follow them. So I'm glad to be back in Rotary. I really have missed being in Rotary. I loved giving back. I loved Ronald McDonald House and the North Texas Food Bank. And I appreciate all of the welcoming and the comments about me coming back in the club, and I appreciate it very much and love to be here. Thank you.
Okay. I don't even write an introduction, I hear. So I would like to talk about one of the things about this club that I'm most proud of. This club for the last 4 years has put on a Legacy of Leadership program. It is unique to this club. We're the only club in the district that has it. And I think it's one of the neatest things we do. Real quickly, if everybody that's been through one of the Legacy of Leadership cohorts, would you please stand for me? So you can see quite a few people have gone through this. You can sit down. Thank you very much. We set out a few years ago to prepare servant leaders to build a team-based culture and to affect progress in the club, in our community, in our world. What we wound up doing that we didn't expect was really creating new friendships and new connections within the club, and I think the program's been very effective in doing that. So we are now rolling out the 5th cohort. Every table has got one of these syllabus is on it. Please look at it. You will get an email from me asking you to apply as soon as we've got the link live on the website. I didn't want to send it out until the link was live. It's 8 Tuesday mornings at 7:30. Sorry about that. We try to get you out and back to work. And in a capstone project. I think it's one of the most worthwhile things we do. I've sat through it 4 times and I learned something every time. I'm going to sit through it the 5th year. Thank you very much.
It's time for that drawing right now. Is Jeff Sheehan still here? Where is Jeff? He's not? Okay. We're going to draw. Would you please draw a ticket out of this? This ticket, look at your tickets now and see if you've got a winning number. What is it, the last 2 digits, 3 digits you're going to read off? Keith, last 3 digits, look at your tickets. If you've got it, holler. Jan, you're looking. I didn't introduce my wife, Jan, because she didn't want to be introduced, but she is sitting here because she wanted to hear Richard Stanford talk, and we're going to get to him quickly.
275.
275, 275. Does anybody? John Brown has 275. John, would you please step up here? Would you please draw a card out of this deck? If it's the ace of, what is it? Spades? Ace of spades.
If not, you just frame it.
He gets to win. If he doesn't, we tear it in half and we do it again next week. They're shuffled every week. There's over 6 ace of spades in there too. I don't know why. What is the deal? Okay, look at this.
2 of diamonds.
Not even the right color. Nothing's right about that, John. Better luck next week. Okay, thank y'all very much. Hey, I'm going to skip some of this other stuff here, except to remind y'all we do not have a meeting on Friday, the 2nd of September, Labor Day weekend. That's the first for this year. We're doing that. Richard Stanford doesn't need an introduction because he's a past president of this club, but I am going to tell you, I watched his previous fill-in a few weeks back online because we were out of state, and it was so good that I said, Richard, the screens should have said ... to be continued, and that's exactly what's happening now. Richard Stanford.
And it's entirely accidental. As you know, Congressman Allred, who would have guessed on August 12th they'd be taking one of the most important votes they've taken in a long time? Somehow he thought he should be there. You know, and so we certainly understand. And for those who wonder why we do it this way, when we have somebody drop out the week of, sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you don't want to victimize a good speaker by just shuffling them in, particularly if you can't advertise them. And so we just play it by ear every time something like this happens. The good news is our schedule is full through December. So unless we have somebody drop out again, we're good. So anyway, I left some stuff out several months ago when we had somebody drop. I did the first, we'll call it the first half. It was supposed to be all of it, but I never could get there. And basically, I left 2 or 3 things out that I must pick up before we get to the 50s and the 60s. One of them is all the outlaws, the people on the other side of the law who came through Dallas. We think of that as Wild West stuff, but you know, Belle Starr rode down Scion Road. There used to be a Scion community. Bob and Cole Younger spent some time in the Scion community. The James, Jesse and Frank spent time in the Scion community. Sam Bass spent time in the Mesquite area while he was robbing trains around here. Belle Starr was stealing horses. But we had a dentist here in the early, mid-1870s, and his name was Doc Holliday. Of course, he became part of American mythology 7 or 8 years later at the OK Corral gunfight. But Doc was a dentist here. His problem was cards and keno and saloons really kind of overcame his life. He gave up his dental practice while he was here and ended up playing cards and getting arrested a couple times. He left here, as you know, because of his tubercular or whatever his breathing situation was, and he headed out west, and the rest is history. So just want to lift that up. Another thing, 50 years later, we probably need to lift up, and it ain't a pretty story, but it was, Dallas excelled. You think of the Klan as occurring during Reconstruction, the Night Riders, all that sort of thing. The Klan had a huge resurgence after World War I. In the 20s, Dallas, 1 out of 3 adult males was a Klansman. Now, that didn't mean they wore a hood or anything, but the Klan was big. They had Klan meetings in churches. Look what Mark has thrown up there. Wednesday, October 24th, 1923 was Klan Day at the State Fair. Tens of thousands of people showed up for Klan Day. And so in fact, the head of the Klan was a Dallas dentist. So Dallas was the center point of that in the 1920s. Darwin Payne writes about that. He's written, you can find his articles online for Texas Monthly. And you can find also a lot about Dallas history in Big D. Darwin wrote Big D, and it's a great source for Dallas history. Now, the Klan suddenly plummeted. Ma Ferguson, one of her better moves was to crack down on Klan stuff, and it became unpopular, and it dropped swiftly. By the mid-20s, it was way down. So, yeah. And another thing to talk about that I did not mention were the black singers, blues singers in Deep Ellum in this community. People don't know how much Deep Ellum was a source of music. I'll name some names. Blind Lemon Jefferson, Hudie Leadbelly, Robert Johnson. Some of them lived here a while. Most of them were from other places, but they came to Deep Ellum and they recorded. There's some famous recordings made here, and so that's a part of Dallas history that gets overlooked. So having plugged that up from last time, let's go back. This is billed as the 50s and the 60s, and it's a wild ride. I think we left off last time during the wars between Benny Binion and Herbert the Cat Noble. And I think when we finished, Herbert had driven out of his compound in Lake Dallas, which was walled with lights at night and snipers on the roofs. He went out to get his mail. And he opened his mailbox. And most of you know what happened at that point. He and his car were blown sky high. And you know who did it. Benny Binion won that one. You know, they had been trying to get each other for years, and Benny Binion won that one. Benny was, of course, already kind of thrown out of Dallas and was in Las Vegas and became really kind of a founder of, along with some others, but a founder of a lot of the early stuff in Las Vegas. And so we'll stop with the highly illegal and go to the somewhat unsavory, although popular at the time. Let's talk about burlesque and strippers in Dallas in the 1950s and in the 1960s. Now, there's some big names. You may recognize some of them. Pappy Dolan, Pappy Cholan. Yes. Okay. Abe Weinstein and the Colony Club. Yes, you knew Barney, you didn't know Abe. Yeah, Abe Weinstein and the Colony Club, and to some extent Jack Ruby and the Carousel. And they all had some sort of reputable sides. Jack had the Silver Spur, which was kind of like a supper club sort of arrangement. Pappy Showland. You know, Bob Hope performed there. Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra performed there. But there was burlesque and there were strippers. And we had a little bit of that all along. Of course, at the Centennial Fair, Sally Rand did her fan dance at the Centennial. But now in the 50s, you had Tammy True, Chris Colt and her 45s in the 60s. Now, there's a double entendre there. Chris Colt actually wore some plastic pistols on her side. Chris Colt and her 45s, and of course national talent like Evelyn West and her treasure chest. Now, there are a lot of double entendres in this era, but the strippers really had to, in the burlesque stripper era, you really had to have a theme or something like that. Now, I have left off for history, probably the queen of the most popular of Dallas strippers. And there she is, Candy Barr. Juanita Schlusser from East Texas, Juanita Phillips because she got married. But that's her on a promotion for the Colony Club, Abe Weinstein's club. She later danced in Las Vegas, really had kind of an interesting career. But Candy Barr was, probably we remember Candy Barr over almost anybody else. What a name, Candy Barr. But, and there was one incident, you know, those of you who have done family law in this group know that you love them or hate them, and some of you probably had clients that shot other clients in domestic disputes. I have. In domestic disputes, you either love them or you shoot them sometimes. And in this case, Candy was estranged from her husband, Mr. Phillips. He abused her. He came over to abuse her again, and she shot him. And they ended up in court, and they were in the hallway of the old Red Courthouse, and this is a classic moment for Texas intellectualism. He was sitting with his lawyer on the bench in the old Red, and she was walking by with her lawyer, and he looked at her, he said, "You shouldn't have did it." And she looked back at him and said, "You shouldn't have came." And so, but anyway, this era in Texas burlesque, Pappy Showland, Colony Club, the Carousel Club that Jack Ruby had, are all parts of Dallas history, and so want to go from the slightly disreputable but very popular to something that really does characterize the 50s, and that is the Brown versus Board of Education decision in 1954. Southern cities, including Dallas, were not ready for that. We congratulate ourselves. Oh, incidentally, before I go any farther, we've talked about Doug Swanson as a good book about Benny Binion, Blood Aces. Candy Bar, Ted Schwartz's book, Candy Bar, is a fabulous biography. If I see Joe Ashmore anytime soon, I'm going to ask him why he's quoted so many times in this book. It's Schwartz says, and Joe Ashmore said this, and Joe Ashmore said that. But another book that I'm going to talk some from, it's been out of print for a number of years. It was a collector's item, and now Deep Vellum republished it, and it's The Accommodation by Jim Schuster, who's still very much alive. He's going to appear for the library at their thing in the fall. But it's called The Accommodation, and The Accommodation in Dallas was to keep the peace, not have too many racial incidents, and how you kept the peace and cultivated black leadership to kind of not cause too much trouble. We were very proud of ourselves, but the fact is, if you look real closely, we slow-walked integration of the schools. I graduated in 1967 from Bryan Adams, and there was not an African-American face in the whole school of 3,000. That's 13 years after Brown versus Board of Education. By the time my brother graduated from Woodrow in 1970, it was pretty much fully desegregated. In that era, federal court orders finally took hold, and busing and all kinds of stuff that finally ended. But it was a lot slower process. In fact, if you read the decisions of people like Federal Judge T. Whitfield Davidson, you go, whoa, it's kind of like, well, I'm ordering this, but I really don't want to. It's not a good idea when these decrees came from appellate courts. So it was a slow process, and that's why he calls it the accommodation. It was also, we tried to keep the peace on sit-ins and things, and we're very proud of ourselves over that. Now, there was one sit-in that's commemorated today in the Holocaust Museum on the second floor. They've reproduced the old Piccadilly cafeteria where there was a sit-in to remember that there were sit-ins about accommodations, about restaurants and other sort of accommodations in Dallas. Now, when he uses the word accommodation, he's talking about the accommodation of trying to work together peacefully. What he would say is the theme was always, well, it's for the greater Dallas. Well, that worked all right for we white people. But a good example, in politics, this crested in the 70s, but it began in the 50s, moved into the 60s. The nature of our city government, we in 1931 had adopted a city manager form of government. It sounded really businesslike. Got a manager, and the mayor doesn't have to run a bunch of politicians. But we also had everybody elected at large, which took away any minority vote. And our Citizens Charter Association was a bunch of influential white men who basically decided who the mayor was going to be and vetted any candidate for all these at-large positions. And the result was an entirely white council system. And so that's when all the litigation started beginning, particularly in the cities in the 60s, cresting in the 70s, about single-member districts. And now we have a bunch of single-member districts. And so the fight was how to, you know what was going on, and there was that fight in politics. We also had a particularly interesting way of dealing with racial issues. I think I talked in the last one about our interesting way of dealing with all the poor people from the country in the early 20s that filtered into Dallas. We all put them in West Dallas, Cement City, West Dallas. That was our answer to the farm crisis in Texas in the early 20s. Our answer to integration of neighborhoods was to help the black middle class find a place that was away from North Dallas. Two communities you know of, and if you can drive there now and see, if you go down Central Expressway, take a ride on Simpson Stewart out by Paul Quinn, you will come to a neighborhood called Highland Hills. Highland Hills is still out there in the south, but that was for middle class African American people, and that way they weren't a problem with moving into neighborhoods in North Dallas. Another one that you won't recognize, it was isolated back then, it's right in the middle of the city now, is Hamilton Park. If you go up Central, take a right on Forest, take a left on Schrader, it was out in the country. It was away from the action back then. And so the building of Highland Hills and Hamilton Park all achieved that accommodation that we wanted to achieve in Dallas in that era. So we're proud of ourselves because there wasn't that much violence, there wasn't that much, but the fact is, we sort of swept it under the rug. And so the accommodation is a good story of that era. So now let's talk, let's also not forget the fact that there was a little Mexico, even into the 50s. Along Harry Hines, now there's a project there, a affordable housing project, and it's right on the edge of town, it's gentrified. But Little Mexico, the Mexican community had been in that area for many, many years, and we had a really vibrant culture there that's gone now, really. But don't want to forget Little Mexico, and also don't want to forget the most overlooked half of the population before the 1950s, women. Go down to the Old Red Courthouse sometime and look at one of the plaques there, and it will tell you that in 1954, I was 5 years old, in 1954, women could start serving on juries. Now, there were a handful of women, Edith DeBusk and Sarah T. Hughes and Elizabeth Karp, and somewhere in there, maybe more in the 60s, Louise Raggio, Adelpha Calejo, but just a handful, and women couldn't even be on juries until I was 5 years old. So things changed, as you know, in this nation in the 1960s, and we went forward in a powerful way, and it's unloosed our economy and our forward progress immeasurably. But that's the way it was. Well, when I graduated law school in '74, that was 20 years later, we had about 200 in my graduating class. 6 were women. It's now 50-50 or so. So anyway, let's talk about politics in Dallas in that era, because let me make sure. Let's start there. We're going to talk about this slide a little. This is Bruce Alger with the mink coat mob. Now, you need to understand that not only were we the top of the Klan in the early 20s, we were the top of the John Birch Society in the early 60s, and I can air my family dirty laundry. My aunt worked for Dan Smoot, very conservative, assistant editor of Lifeline, H.L. Hunt's very conservative publication. She started 2 John Birch Societies. The John Birch Society was started by Robert Welch, candy maker up in the Northeast. And basically, they pretty much hated anything that said UN, Trilateral Commission, Rockefeller, even down to fluoridation. A communist plot was fluoridation. But before we get any further into that, early in November, just before the presidential election of 1960, Lyndon is vice presidential candidate with Kennedy, and Lyndon basically shows up at the office with Lady Bird for a Democratic function. And Bruce Alger is there with the Republican women of Dallas. That's why they call it the mink coat mob. They started yelling at Lyndon and doing all this stuff. He walked into the lobby, and you would think Lyndon would have walked in another direction, but he knew an opportunity when he saw one. Now, Bruce Alger had been a war hero and was our congressman. He had an interesting conservative, he had gone more and more conservative. There was a vote 390-something to 1 on the school milk subsidy program. He was the one that voted against it in the House. But he thought it'd be a good idea to take the mob out there and give Lyndon a hard time. Lyndon saw his opportunity, said it took him 30 minutes to get through the lobby of the Adolphus. Beat me, flay me, just. And the fact was, it was such bad publicity. Richard Nixon later said that, I'll take out the expletive, that whatever congressman from Texas lost me the election because Kennedy won Texas by a narrow margin. And he attributed that loss to Bruce Alger and the mink coat mob. But anyway, there's another famous Texan in that era, imported Texan, but General Edwin L. Walker. General Walker was an Army hero in the Second World War, was a division commander in Germany. He had met with Robert Welch, and he decided that he loved the Birch message, and he started distributing stuff to his troops in Germany. And the administration said no, and he kept doing it, and basically he was removed. In fact, Robert Kennedy at one point had him committed for a few days of mental evaluation. And boy, did that make the Birch side really upset about things. But General Walker came here to Dallas, lived on Turtle Creek, and go to the next one. This is a picture from a clip on YouTube. Most of y'all have seen Dr. Strangelove. Yes. Terry Southern was from Dallas, and he grew up in Dallas. He was a screenwriter out in L.A. He wrote the screenplay for Dr. Strangelove. General Jack Ripper, there played by Sterling Hayden, is a knockoff of Edwin L. Walker. And Mandrake, one of the roles that Peter Sellers plays in that movie, is a British attaché, and General Ripper is explaining to him about vital bodily juices and how the communists plot to fluoridate American water was an attack on Americans' vital bodily juices. That came entirely from Terry Southern's knowledge of the John Birch Society and Dallas conservatism. Fluoride, a General Walker character. So anyway, this movie was made in 1964, right after. General Walker kind of faded after a while. His problem was he couldn't give a coherent speech. He just couldn't do it for the life of him. And John Tower and other prominent Republicans said, do not run him for governor. Do not do that. He just can't. He's dull and he's disjointed in his presentations. Now, an important thing about General Walker was that he was sitting in his home on Turtle Creek one time, and a shooter tried to shoot him from the tracks across the street. This is April of 1963. We didn't know who it was. We knew later who it was. It was Lee Harvey Oswald. Tried to kill General Walker. And so let's talk some about, because we're going to run out of time again, but that's all right. It's a fun story. Let's just talk about the assassination real quickly. Lee Harvey Oswald wanted to shoot somebody, and he shot the president. Made the rest of us feel really guilty because we were known as the city of hate, and it had all started just before Kennedy came. It started when Adlai Stevenson came and got hit on the head with somebody's little placard, and he told Kennedy, "Don't go. They're crazy. They're nuts. They're hateful." And of course, it did not help. By the way, before I run out of time, Nut Country is a great story of that era in Dallas. But just before he came, I pulled out an old newspaper dated November 22nd, 1963. Came out that morning. This is the Dallas Morning News. And basically, welcome Mr. Kennedy to Dallas. An economic boomtown that'll continue to grow, but rejects your philosophy. Why? All these whys. This came out that morning. Why have you ordered and permitted your brother Bobby, the Attorney General, to go soft on communists, fellow travelers? ultra-leftists in America while permitting him to persecute loyal Americans who criticize your administration and your leadership. There are about 10 of those. That's a good example of them. So, but the fact is, he got a very friendly reception that day. And a crazy man who was ready to shoot somebody. My aunt knew Lee Harvey Oswald, said he'd do lefty one week, righty next week. And he was just, for a 50th anniversary, I talked to Robert Oswald, his brother, and he basically, it's interesting, his brother said, our mother made Lee crazy. You know, I got out of the household and Marguerite made Lee crazy. So, crazy or not, a crazy man shot, not because this was a city of hate, but because he was ready to shoot somebody. He tried with General Walker and missed just because it hit a little piece of metal on the Walker's window pane. Then another crazy man shoots him, Jack Ruby. Everybody knew Jack carried a gun. Everybody knew Jack had a temper. Jack had gone over to send a MoneyGram to a stripper that needed the money across that Western Union, across the municipal building, was coming back. He walked in, he had a gun. Everybody should have known he had a gun, but everybody knew Jack. And so it just came, Jack had been mourning Jackie's tragedy, and it just came on him when he saw Oswald. There's a picture. We had Jim Level, who's since died. He's in the big white hat. Jim basically understood that a crazy man shot a crazy man. There's Ruby shooting Oswald. Everybody wants to make a conspiracy out of it, and you're free to. But the fact is, you had two real nutcases, and one shot the president, and one shot the other one. And you know, after the assassination, I'm going to take 2 minutes. Can I just take 2 minutes? Things changed a lot. Things calmed down a lot. And the fact is, we became a thriving city, and you know, major university growth, major hospital growth. We've had many Nobel Prize winners, but 2 that are outstanding. Norman Borlaug, who in fact created drought-resistant wheat and changed the world. Jack Kilby at TI, who basically created the microchip and changed the world. But our last picture, look on the left. Maybe the thing that's most exciting to some of us is that during this period, Mariano Martinez invented the margarita machine right here in Dallas, and the rest is kind of history. So we'll leave it there. Okay.
As Kathy Allred's walking up here to lead us in the 4-way test, I want to tell Richard that we're going to add to your ever-growing section of the library at McShann Elementary School, because I guess another book's going to be placed in your honor right there. Anyway, would you all please rise?
Fellow Rotarians, distinguished guests, please recite with me the 4-way test and the things we think, say, and do. First, is it fair? Is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
You want to whack this for me? All right, here we go. Never have been shy about ringing that bell, Frank.